Hey there, thanks so much for clicking on our video. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Ashley, and we are the hosts of Bible and Banter.
Bible and Banter is a space for real conversation through the lens of faith.
We hope to be a reminder that we serve a good God
who left us a living word
to tackle all that life throws our way.
Hey, so let's get into it. All right, so in this week's video, we're going to be talking about how to increase your trust in the Lord, because we know first and foremost as Christians, it's always ideal for us to say, you know, just trust God. Trust God. God has got you. God, just trust him. And I think that's the reason why we see in so many worship songs, I will trust in the Lord. I trust you, God. I trust you, God. Because we're trying to hone in on the fact that it's hard to trust God.
Yeah, period. That's the reality of the
reality
situation. Trusting God is actually harder than...
It's not the default.
Easier said than done.
It's not the default. And it should be, of course, in an ideal world. And, you know, being in God's likeness, you would think it'd be the easiest thing for us to do, but it's just not. So Ashley and I wanted to just break down a couple things that we do to kind of renew our mindset in that area of trusting God, because we understand it can get challenging at times. So we can just get right into the first point. Accepting God's timing. Now that one is hard, and I can talk about this for a whole video, but I won't. So if you have been a Christian for a long time, if you've been a Christian for a short time, you understand the severity sometimes in trusting God's timing for your life. Whatever you're putting your faith in the Lord in at this moment, whether that is waiting for a relationship, waiting to get married, in the marriage, waiting for a baby, you know, whatever your process is, it's all a constant trusting in God's timing. Isn't it funny that we will pray and fast for a certain thing, and then we get that thing, and then we're like, okay, got that, next. It's always in a form of more. But in this point of accepting God's timing, we need to accept that God knows us like the back of his hand, okay? He knows you more than you know you, whether you want to believe it or not. And because you're not receiving a certain thing that you're praying for at this moment, does not mean it won't come. Does not mean it's not going to come to fruition. And believing in that is the hardest part. And I definitely can attest to this, because one example that comes to mind is the current job that I have right now. I know in my previous job, I was just in a very tough work situation, very toxic. And I prayed and fasted that the Lord open up a door that I'd be able to get into a job. And anyone can relate to this, especially coming out of 2020 and into 2021. It was a super challenging year for everybody. But for me in particular, it was hard for me to trust God at moments, because I'm like, why am I even here? What am I learning from this? What am I going to take from this? Why are you not it's almost like, you know, like a spoiled kid a little bit, like, why are you not helping me to get out of this situation? You see me over here struggling in it. So what's going on? And no matter how many times I tried to bang down that door, the Lord would just not release me. And so I think that when I finally got to a point where I was just so tired of banging my head up against the door, I was like, okay, that's not working. Me throwing a fit isn't working. Me victimizing myself isn't working. So what's left? You know, trust God. And the way that I went about trusting God was just accepting the situation for what it was. What am I learning in this situation was what I came down to. I was like, yes, this isn't ideal for me. I know that I'm not going to be here forever, but what is God trying to teach me in this moment now? What do I need to accept about this moment now to prepare me for what's to come? Because I'm believing that the Lord is going to do this for me. So what do I need to do? And I'm telling you, in that moment when I came to that, there was a sense of just contentment that came over my life. And it's not that I was in a happy place. It's that I knew that this wasn't going to be forever. And I was satisfied in that moment. And even though I went in on Monday already tired, I was not thrown off, or I was not taken aback as quickly as I was before, because I knew that God had something greater for me. And let me tell you, friend, on the other side of it now, I'm here on the other side of it, and I can tell you that I'm so grateful for that moment now. And I can say that with all confidence, because had I not gone through that season of difficulty, I don't think that I would have been able to do what I'm doing now, like at my current position. I don't think I would have had the tenacity to do it or be able to work at the volume that I am now. And it is so amazing to know that God did that for me.
Yeah, Yeah, and you know, with talking about accepting God's timing, the scripture that comes to mind for me, there's a scripture, and I don't know the exact book, chapter or verse, you know, but it's in there.
Is it
and it talks about, and it's in the Old Testament. So, you know, for the Bible experts out there.
Okay, Bible scholars, we get it.
But it says an inheritance received too early is actually a curse.
Ooh.
And it's just in that, like, if you receive something before you're actually ready for it, it's not going to be the blessing that you think it is. One, you're not going to be able to handle it. So you're either going to fold under the pressure. It's going to be overwhelming for you. You know what I mean? You're not going to have what you need built inside of you internally or externally, external resources. So just in trusting His timing, trust that right now He may have decided that you're still in the preparation phase.
Yep.
And so in trusting His timing and accepting His timing, also realize that there is always a lesson to be learned within whatever season that you're in.
Yes.
And so trusting Him also looks like accepting that even if you're in a bad situation, you were supposed to be in this situation because it was supposed to grow you.
Right.
So I would say just realize that there is always a lesson even in the trials, especially in the trials.
Especially in the trials.
And that can kind of help change your perspective because sometimes it's hard to trust God when you feel like you're being you're in an unfair situation, and it's like, but I'm trusting you for this and to do this, and yet and still here I am. I find myself still in this painful position, still in this toxic environment, still in this this singleness, and I'm trusting that you're going to bring me my husband or an amazing, you know, companion or whatever it might be, and it still hasn't happened for me, and I'm still meeting all the duds, and I'm still meeting you know what I mean, I'm not meeting any good men of God, I'm not meeting any men that are that have any substance, and but you know, I've done the work on myself. I feel like I've done the work on myself, like why isn't this happening for me? And God may be like, well, you really haven't done the work on yourself that you think you need to do. You know what I mean?
Like, or he could be preparing that other man, you know what I mean? And if you would have been introduced to him too early, it would have been a problem. You would have passed him up.
Right. You didn't need to meet Tyrone in his 20s. Tyrone in his 20s was in the streets. What you needed was Tyrone in his mid-30s.
That man's going to be ready, honey.
Yeah. So accept His timing, and then also realize that there's a lesson even in the bad, and that the bad, there's a reason even for tough seasons. Yes.
That reminds me of the Bible verse in James. What is it? It was like rejoicing.
Oh, she know the chapter.
Now, today, guys. In James, it's talking about, I think it said rejoice or be grateful in times of trials. Because it's building up your endurance. As Christians, you can't stay a babe forever. You know, it's wonderful. And remember when you first became Christian, you were on fire.
Right.
You thought you could just demons and you know, and then eventually you kind of just, and it's not that the fire goes out, but you do kind of get a little content in that area, and then you get a little bit you know, comfortable. And so the Lord's like, okay, you can't stay comfortable around here. So next level. And with that is going to cause you to have to grow. So when trials come, just know it's the growth. It's the growth. And with any growth period, it's going to be a little painful. But then whenever you start to see yourself again, you're like, wait, I'm glad I got a little bit bigger. I'm glad I got a little bit, you know, because I can't stay that way forever. And the Lord is pushing you out of your comfort zone so He can create you into the woman of God or man of God that He had already predestined you to be from the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just building on that, I think it is also, accepting that, you know, the bad seasons happen for a reason and there's always something to learn. But in that, you must accept that even with being a Christian and trusting God and praying and all of this, you must also realize that does not exclude you from hardships. Like, there's a verse that says, because you have been given the privileges that come with being a Christian, you must also accept the suffering just as Christ did. And so just knowing that trusting God also means that you trust him to get you through the hardest things that you will experience in your life, and not feeling like your trusting in him should have excluded you from pain, and it should have excluded you from any sort of hardship. So
yeah, that's good. Another point, one thing that I remembered, this was from a podcast that I was listening to, and I thought it was so good. Another way to just kind of remember to trust the Lord, or ways to increase your trust in him, is to, if you like to journal all of the blessings that the Lord has bestowed upon you that you can think of. Because even in your most doubtful state, if you can come back and be like, dang, the Lord came through for me in that job.
That's
exactly I forgot. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, right. Like God is a man of his word. I know that, but it's like I needed to physically see it. And I was like, oh, that's so good. So I have to credit that person to that, but that is a way that it
remembrance.
Remembrance. Because you know, we quick to have some amnesia, like, I don't think the Lord's gonna pull me through this.
Exactly. But you know what? And that's why all throughout the Old Testament, all you, there's like a thread of remembering.
Yes.
You know, remember when God did this. Remember when he delivered you from this. Remember when he did this. Be sure to remember this, and let this, build this, altar in remembrance of when he did da 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 da. And I think that's so good, is that you should, whenever you kind of get in those moments and you need to remember to trust God, you really need to remember what he already brought you through.
Yes.
Like a lot of times what you're going through isn't even unique to you. Like you've been through a hard breakup before.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You may not have been through a layoff before. Like before, I hadn't been through a layoff, but I had been through, struggling coming up, and I've been through humble beginnings, and just whatever it might be. Like just always remember, like to
remember to reflect, because we're always in every single season gonna think something's bigger than what it really is. You left college, you went back home, and everything, the only thing you were obsessed with was getting your own apartment, right? So now you finally get your own apartment, and you're like, okay, God, I need a bigger apartment, I need a better apartment, I need this, and when you're not getting it, you're like, remember whenever you were back at your parents' house in a little square room, and you were so upset that you had to have that, and now you have a roof over your shoulders, you have heat, you have air, you have a bathtub. If you want to go take a bath today, you could go do it, but you forgot about that. So these are just ways, little things like that, I think, is what helps to increase our trust in the Lord. It's just a spirit of gratefulness.
That's the best part.
Think
the spirit of gratefulness.
Think back, and that goes hand in hand with the remembrance. Grateful. I'm so grateful, Lord, that you gave me this couch. I know I want a bigger and better couch, but I'm so happy with this couch right now. Like, I have a place to sit, and that's more than I can say in 2 years.
Not too much.
This couch is amazing. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's like, if you get into a point where you are just so grateful for even the smallest things. I'm so grateful for this pinky toe. I'm so grateful for this nail that you put on top of my finger, because if I hadn't had that, Lord, it might look a little weird, but I have it. You know
right. I mean? And that's such a good point. Like, not even just reflecting on what he did, reflect on what he's doing.
Yes.
Like that is what's really, really good, is to, like, because sometimes I'll get in a certain kind of rut, and I will just look around and I'm like, girl, look where he brought you from.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I look back.
I love those moments. You just
I'm like, I look at what he's doing now. Like, girl, you were not supposed to be up in this place. You were not supposed to be doing this, and this. You were not supposed to have the self-esteem to put yourself out there in any type of influencing situation. You did not. Like, I just look at, like, not only where he brought me from, but where he has me.
Yes.
And just that is a reminder to trust God. Like, when you know, like, you didn't even see your current circumstances at a certain point in your life is enough to make you be like, you know what? I trust you.
Period.
That's all I got.
That's it, y'all. I think those are some really good points. If you made it this far in the video, first of all, you're a real one. We love that you're here. Please keep rocking for us. If you made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed, though,
the treachery, the betrayal.
You know that ain't right. right. You know that ain't right. So go ahead and click that subscribe. Go ahead and like this video. And then also, please comment below some ways that you are learning how to trust in the Lord, or what your biggest struggle in trusting in the Lord is. So we can all kind of talk back and forth and encourage each other.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Yes. We'll be back next week with another real and relevant topic. We're talking about everything, ranging from friendships, relationships,
to careers and navigating corporate America. She was waiting for me to mess up. Low key, it be your own people, you know?
I'm so thankful for Ashley. I'm just grateful for her, Lord.
This one. But in the meantime, and in between time, please, please, please remember that Jesus loves you.
We love you.
And you are more than enough.
Bye.